Welcome, age of vintage society. Charlton Heston was the rugged American frontiersman, with his 6'3" broad chest, square jaw, and rich deep voice. The man courted controversy the same way he courted his wife, with perseverance and commitment, but don't let that fool you. Beneath his flip-flopping opinions is a man with immense talent and a thirst for justice. Charlton Heston flirted with a man dressed as a woman. Make sure to watch the video until the end and leave your thoughts in the comments. If you are new here, join our wonderful community by subscribing to the Age of Vintage channel. Charlton Heston is a man that is nearer to controversy than most other stars throughout their careers. You might have other stars in a relationship scandal, cheating on their spouses, or having a child out of wedlock. But Heston was a whole different gravy. He was an active political participator, and in the end it almost cost him everything. It certainly snuffed out what was left of his already ailing career, and ruined one of the few friendships he had. Paul Newman stopped his friendship with Heston because of his views. Heston had changed his ideology from being a leftist and had become more conservative for different reasons. One of them was he didn't like the immorality in Hollywood. He also didn't like the fact that people were unable to express what they felt. So when Newman insulted President Ronald Reagan, Heston battled with him and ruined their friendship. Their feud got so bad that when the two appeared on a program, Newman refused to shake Heston's hand, and it seemed to hurt Heston, who later complained about it. Newman wasn't the only one to take a swipe at Heston. Some of the new generation of actors also did the same. One said, "I don't care. Charlton Heston is the head of the National Rifle Association. He deserves whatever anyone says about him." At the time that actor made the statement, Heston was sick with Alzheimer's and was inches away from death. At the time, the disease had become so severe that Heston would drive around his area, lost and unable to locate his home. He would drive for hours around the same place, checking from one house to the other, scared and in a panic. When he wasn't lost and forgetting his home, he would swear that he hadn't even owned a car in his life, and it was in that state that some actors decided to make fun of Heston because he had a different view from theirs. He was labelled a monster who loved guns more than he did kids, and because of him heading the NRA, that he stopped getting roles. Everyone always chanted Heston's iconic statement. I want to say those fighting words for everyone within the sound of my voice, to hear and to heed, and especially for you, Mr. Gore, from my cold, dead hands. This statement created a huge scandal, especially as before Charlton Heston didn't support the NRA, but much like his other views, this changed. Everyone latched onto that statement to criticise Heston, and even the industry he tried so much to build demonised him. Stars who were cowards and always prioritised their careers over what was right laughed at him. Everyone forgot when Heston was an advocate of civil rights when it could cost him his career. Heston marched when a march was needed, and he even met Martin Luther King Jr. King himself invited Charlie to march alongside him in Washington. He would even attend King's speeches on civil rights. Heston was so much in awe of the King that he called him the 20th century Moses. He didn't stop his support there. He actively pushed for Lyndon B. Johnson to make Congress, because Johnson also believed in the civil rights movement. People forgot that the macho actor defied the US government by criticising the Vietnamese War. However, he extended his sympathy to the soldiers when he visited them during the war. What he saw shook him. Soldiers lined up wounded from the war, and the star volunteered to help them reach their families and loved ones to let them know they were fine. The star got about 400 names and called them when he got to America. Despite the star's criticism of the war, he understood reaching a solution wasn't a straightforward thing. Being public enemy number one wasn't something that fazed the star. He already had a terrible relationship with most of the other stars. The star had a better relationship with directors than his peers. Well, except for Sam Peckinpah, the director of Major Dundee. Heston was used to being treated with respect by directors he worked with, and was mostly used to exchanging ideas. Sam didn't care about all of that. He ordered Heston around and changed things in the scripts at whim. Then when Heston couldn't keep up with the changes, Sam would curse him. This continued until when Heston decided to stop it, but Heston's idea of stopping the disrespect was a little bit on the extreme side. The star drew his character's sword and began to ride his horse toward the director. Sam, seeing the danger of staying in Charlie's way, had to jump out of the way. Seems the legendary actor hated Sam to the point of killing him. As much as he hated Sophia Loren, he didn't want to kill her. The two starred in the film El Cid, and it was an experience Charlton Heston didn't want to repeat. He even almost declined a role because Sophia would be the female lead. However, Sophia chose to not take the role, much to Charlton's delight. So why did Heston not like Sophia? He was a perfectionist and a hard worker. He had the habit of throwing himself completely into his role. He arrived on a set early, and sometimes he came around the set before filming even began. On the other hand, Sophia had a habit of getting late to the set and was more focused on her beauty than applying herself to her role. This vexed the star actor to the point that he asked the director to get a double to shoot his close-up shots with Loren. The legendary macho star didn't feel a working chemistry with Loren and would rather avoid her. He was that much uncomfortable around Loren, a woman other actors would love to work with or flirt with. When compared with Ava Gardner, maybe Charlton Heston could still force himself to work with Loren. At least Loren showed up on set even if she came late. Gardner wouldn't even show up at times because she would be drunk in the middle of the road, playing matador with taxis. He also passed on the chance to work with Marilyn Monroe because Laurence Olivier, his hero, had a hard time working with the screen vamp, and Heston had had it with the antics of female stars. They didn't even have to act like divas before he had an issue with them. Vanessa Redgrave, who he worked with for the show Macbeth, was diligent and took the job seriously. Interestingly, it was that diligence that annoyed Heston. The actor was known for improvising when need be, and it was precisely what Vanessa lacked. She didn't take initiative and acted according to the script, nothing more and nothing less. With how the star had issues with his female leads, you would think he was homosexual, but he wasn't. Some people maintained that the man had issues with the concept of it. He had problems with Richard Harris because he felt Richard was pompous. While Vanessa didn't take the initiative, Richard took too much initiative that he would forget he wasn't the scriptwriter or director but a cast member. Heston let Richard know that he wasn't a big fan of him. At least Richard was better than Oliver Reed, who had quite the drinking appetite. He would consume too much alcohol while they lunched, and he ended up fluffing his lines masterfully. So as you can see, the brilliant actor wasn't attracted to men. He rejected all things around it, even if the characters he played were in love with men. Gore Vidal wrote Ben-Hur and interpreted the character to be in a romantic relationship with Messala, who betrays him. Gore saw Messala's actions as those of a jilted lover. As a result, Gore made subtle changes to the character to suggest a romantic relationship. The director and Gore kept this interpretation a secret from Charlton Heston, as they were aware of his potential reaction. Gore and the director told the actor that played Messala about the interpretation, and the actor performed the role to perfection. So years after, when Gore wrote and talked about the whole thing he did with Ben-Hur, Heston didn't take it well at all. He went on a tirade. He denied that his character was in love with a man and denied Gore himself. He claimed Gore wasn't part of Ben-Hur. When the actor was cast as Michelangelo, he claimed to have researched the artist and maintained that he was not in a romantic relationship with anyone of the same gender. Gore wanted to include footage from the film as part of a larger project on films with non-heterosexual portrayals, but the actor, who was known for projecting a macho image, vehemently refused, although there was some evidence that showed Michelangelo could have been interested in men. Charlton Heston could be a stubborn man, and it was a trait that helped him and also brought him down. He had been like that since he was young. Born in 1923 as John Charles Carter around Evanston, Illinois, Heston was different from the other kids. While the other children would goof off and run around, he preferred to be by himself or with his dad in the woods. He hunted or fished when he was out. When he wasn't hunting or fishing, he read. He didn't crave attention. His company was enough. However, his idyllic life would come to an end when his parents divorced each other. He lost the Woods and his father, as their mother remarried and moved with her husband to Wilmot in Chicago. The trees were replaced with the concrete jungle, where he didn't fit in. Then he discovered acting in high school, and his path became defined. He was excellent at acting, and this earned him a partial scholarship to study theatre in college. During this time he met the woman he would marry and spend the rest of his life with, but like him, Lydia Clark was a stubborn woman. Heston wooed her, but she wouldn't budge, and always rejected his advances. She didn't count on the man being stubborn. He continued to propose to her, not minding the amount of rejection that he got. When Heston was drafted for the Second World War, he decided to give it one last try. He wrote a letter to Lydia before he would leave the United States. The letter contained his proposal, and unlike before, she agreed. The two had a quick marriage before Heston joined the war effort. He served in the United States Air Force as an aerial gunner and radio operator. After 2 years he was discharged from the army and officially began to live with his wife. As stage actors, the pair went to New York to get jobs, but as that didn't work out, they travelled to North Carolina and returned to New York not long after. This time luck shined on Heston. He did a little reinventing of himself by mostly changing his name, and it worked. His career had a domino effect. He got the role of Proculius in Antony and Cleopatra. Then, because of his performance on stage, he got a small part in CBS's Julius Caesar. Now, because of his outstanding performance on CBS, he then got a movie role. Before that time, he had declined the opportunity to act in movies, preferring stage and TV shows. However, director Hal Wallace was convincing, and the muscular actor wanted to try acting in a movie once and be done with it. His first film was The Dark City. He shouldn't have given such a convincing performance if he didn't intend to continue as an on-screen actor. The movie flopped, but Heston was outstanding in it. So outstanding that he got the notice of Cecil B. DeMille, a director and one of Paramount's creators. Although the Paramount boss felt Heston was too gritty for the role he had in mind, but Heston changed Cecil's mind without even meaning to. When DeMille met Heston, the actor greeted the director cheerfully. This changed the director's mind about Heston being too gritty for the part of the lead of his film, The Greatest Show on Earth. Cecil asked Charlton Heston to be in the part by not directly asking him. Cecil just talked about the ideas for the film, and Heston's response, that it'll be a good film, helped him get the part. The film tested the star with DeMille's pursuit of realism. The director tried to simulate animals running around and released a panther that pawed at the star's face and an elephant that was rampaging, and Heston had to evade. DeMille cast Heston in his next film, The 10 Commandments, where the star played Moses. The director felt Heston was perfect due to his masculinity. The star continued to get juicy parts and had become a director's favourite, which meant he had the freedom to interpret his characters as he felt. But this didn't work with William Wyler, the director of Ben-Hur. Heston had spent a lot of time preparing for his role and learning how to ride chariots, so perhaps Heston felt his work ethic gave him the right to make suggestions, as he usually did for the other directors. Wyler didn't appreciate this, as the director was an intricate planner and a perfectionist. The director had planned how each scene would go, and Heston's suggestions felt somehow like an insult to these plans. However, the working relationship between the two wasn't ruined, as Charlie appreciated Wyler's dedication. Boy, did Wyler push Charlie to his limit. They could shoot a particular scene a couple of times until Wyler felt it was perfect. No wonder Ben-Hur became such a successful film and a cinematic masterpiece. Michelangelo was another film that tested the actor, as he had to learn how to paint. The actor starred in a couple more other films that improved his standing as an actor, but almost ruined his marriage. Lydia gave up her career so she could become a good wife to Heston and a good mother to the children, but it was difficult for her to see her husband, with his brimming masculinity, become the subject of attraction from actresses and female fans. They fought, as perhaps Lydia felt her husband was cheating. If she did, then she was onto something. Charlton once flirted with a man dressed as a woman. Paul O'Grady, a TV presenter and DJ, had a character he played which was Lily Savage. Heston thought Paul was a woman and began to talk to him. Paul graciously listened to the man and even got a wink after the conversation. So Charlton could have been a cheat, but Lydia never accused him of cheating, so what we have are just guesses. It's just amusing Heston didn't know he was flirting with a man. Despite the tough moments in their marriage, Heston and Lydia powered through their struggles. This wouldn't be the only struggle the actor had in his life, and we aren't talking about his inability to cry on camera. What we are talking about is Heston's struggle with insecurity. Guess what? The man didn't think he was a great actor. We know. Shocking, isn't it? No one who hasn't been an actor can know how ego-shattering it is, he said. Odd. The man was a celebrated actor of immense talent who carried the films he featured in with grace. With his skills he was able to get different roles. Interestingly, some say the actor chose to act as historical figures because he couldn't do any other type of role. Maybe it's good the actor felt this way, as it pushed him to continually be better and not turn prideful. Charlton Heston lived a great life and even survived cancer, but after his cancer entered remission, Alzheimer's struck. Heston himself expected death. He felt he had a good run and death could claim him. It did, in the form of pneumonia. The controversial actor finally went to rest, true to himself and what he believed in. Hollywood demonized Charlton Heston, but there were others in contact with the devil himself. Why, people believed that Vivian Leigh was possessed by a demon. Watch this video.